My neighbor's 5-year-old daughter fell from the 12th floor and landed on the metal awning outside my apartment. I caught her by the wrist for 40 minutes. I held on until the firefighters finally pulled her to safety. Afterward, her parents demanded compensation because the rescue had dislocated her arm. The doctor said the ligaments and joint capsule were badly damaged. She may suffer recurring dislocations for the rest of her life. You caused this. Why are you trying to avoid responsibility? During the argument, they shoved me from the balcony. Their daughter survived her fall. I did not survive mine. When I woke again on the morning of the rescue, I did something completely unlike the homebody I had always been. I left my apartment and stayed out all day. My phone vibrated against the cafe table. The screen displayed the name I had saved for the woman in apartment 1201, Mrs. Zhang. Once, twice, 3 times. I sat beside the cafe window, slowly stirring my latte with no intention of answering. I knew exactly why Zhang Miao was calling. I also knew she had to be close to losing her mind. Only a short time earlier, I had opened my eyes and discovered I had been reborn. In my previous life, I had been napping at home that afternoon when a child screamed, and the heavy impact of something striking metal woke me. I ran to the balcony. Zhang Miao's 5-year-old daughter, Tong Tong, was hanging from the edge of the stainless steel awning outside my apartment. Half her body dangled over open air. She could fall at any moment. I did not stop to think. I did not even put on shoes. Barefoot, I climbed through the security bars and stepped onto the narrow awning. Then I grabbed Tong Tong's wrist with both hands. The child was heavier than I expected. The force of her fall nearly tore my shoulder from its socket. Don't be afraid, Tong Tong. I've got you. I tried to calm her while pulling with everything I had, but I was a slight woman trying to lift a child from a dead hang. It was almost impossible. All I could do was maintain my grip. I clenched my teeth as the muscles in my arm burned and tore. My bones felt as if they were being pulled apart. Time stretched without end. More people gathered below. Their shouts, gasps, and calls for emergency services blended into a deafening roar. 10 minutes later, Chang Miao finally realized something was wrong. She leaned out from the window above and screamed at me. Miss Han, please. Please hold on to Tong Tong. I'm coming down. Whatever you do, don't let go. She sounded desperate. She sounded sincere. I believed her. I thought I was saving a family's entire world. I stared at Tong Tong's terrified face while sweat and tears blurred my vision. Auntie, my hand hurts. She sobbed. Just a little longer. The firefighters are coming. My voice had become a rasp. I was trying to comfort myself as much as her. My arm went numb. I could no longer feel my fingers. Only willpower kept my hand closed. 10 minutes, 20, 30. My mind emptied. Darkness crept into my vision. All I could hear was my own ragged breathing and the violent pounding of my heart. I knew I was near the end. Every breath felt like the last one I would take. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, firefighters reached through my apartment window. Several powerful hands took the child from me. Tong Tong was safe. My body collapsed. I nearly rolled off the awning before they dragged me back through the balcony. 40 minutes. My right arm hung uselessly at my side like a broken branch. I could not lift a finger. Chang Miao held her daughter and thanked me over and over. I believed the ordeal had ended. I had done something difficult and good. It had hurt, but it had been worth it. I was wrong. The nightmare had only begun. The next day, Zhang Miao and her husband arrived with hospital records. They had not come to thank me. They had come to accuse me. Han Lan Chu, look at what you did. She slapped the medical report against my face. The doctor says Tong Tong suffered severe ligament and joint capsule damage. She'll have recurring dislocations. Any little movement could pull her arm out for the rest of her life. That happened during the rescue. You caused it. Her husband pointed at my face. His expression was vicious. We asked Tong Tong. She said you squeezed her so hard it hurt. You're an adult. Couldn't you have been gentler? Why did you use that much force? Did you do it on purpose? I could not believe what I was hearing. I had nearly destroyed my own arm to keep their daughter from falling. Now they blamed me because she had suffered an unavoidable injury while being saved. I was already losing strength. I was lucky I could keep hold of her at all. How was I supposed to control the pressure? Could either of you have done better? My whole body shook with anger. How do we know you didn't do it intentionally? Zhang Miao demanded. Maybe you're jealous because we have a child and you don't. The argument escalated. They demanded 200,000 yuan for medical costs, nutrition, and emotional damages. I refused. Your wife failed to watch her child. That is why Tong Tong fell. I saved her. I didn't hurt her. You don't thank me, and now you're trying to extort money from me. They became enraged. They shouted. They shoved me. In the chaos, they pushed me over the railing from the exact place where I had saved her daughter. The world turned upside down. Wind screamed past my ears. The cries of people below became distant. I fell from the 6th floor balcony like a kite with its string cut. In the final second of my life, one thought passed through my mind. How ridiculous. The child who fell from the 12th floor lived. The woman who saved her was thrown from the 6th floor and died. When I opened my eyes again, it was noon on the day everything began. Sunlight filled the room. I had always been a dedicated homebody. That morning, I changed clothes, put on light makeup and left. I went shopping. I watched a movie. I had afternoon tea. I did everything I ordinarily avoided. I wanted to be far from the apartment. I wanted no one to find me. My phone rang again. This time the number was unfamiliar. Probably the fire department or the police. I ignored it. Some parents should pay for their own negligence and stupidity. In this life, I did not want to be a good person. I wanted to live for myself. I finished my coffee slowly. The timing was almost right. I opened an inconspicuous app connected to the smart peephole outside my apartment. The video loaded. A crowd had gathered in the hallway. Xiao Miao was there. Several neighbors stood nearby. A group of firefighters waited at my door. The fire captain was explaining the situation. Ma'am, your daughter landed on the awning outside the 6th floor apartment. We have inspected it from below. The structure appears stable for now, but the building's design leaves us with only one effective access point. The awning extends too far for a rescue from the 5th or 7th floor. We need to enter the 6th floor residence, cut through the security bars and pull the child inside. Then break the door, Xiang Miao shouted. Hurry. We cannot, the captain said firmly. This is a private residence. We do not have legal authority to force entry while the owner is absent and has not given consent. Our team is deploying an air cushion below, but from the 6th floor it may not prevent a serious injury. What do you mean you don't have authority? My daughter's life is at risk. If something happens to her, will you take responsibility? We are attempting to contact the owner. Please stop interfering with the rescue effort. She must be home, Xiang Miao screamed. Han Lanchu never leaves her apartment. She's a shut-in. She's ignoring us on purpose. The captain frowned. First, you are the child's guardian. Supervising her is your responsibility. Second, we are doing everything we can. Do not obstruct emergency personnel. Xiang Miao had no answer. She dialed me again. Through the camera, I saw fury and panic twisting her face. The microphone captured every curse. That damned Han Lanchu. Is she deaf? Is she dead? Why won't she answer? When Tong Tong is safe, I'll tear her apart. She has no humanity. The words sounded almost identical to the abuse she screamed while shoving me in my previous life. Only this time, I listened from somewhere completely safe. I watched the timer on my phone. I had endured 40 minutes for her child. Now they could learn what 40 minutes felt like. When the display reached 10 minutes, I answered. Hello, Mrs. Zhang. I made myself sound confused. What happened? You called so many times. I was in a movie theater and my phone was on silent. Han Lanchu, she shrieked, you finally answered. Come back right now. Tong Tong fell onto your awning. The firefighters need to enter your apartment. What? I gasped with carefully measured shock. How did that happen? Is Tong Tong all right? Don't panic. I'm coming immediately. I'll take a taxi. 20 minutes at most. Before the call ended, I heard her mutter to the firefighters. She had to go out today of all days. That woman brings nothing but bad luck. I smiled coldly and left the cafe. Xingfei Li Residential Complex, I told the driver. The city moved past the window. They wanted to save the child. It would not be so easy this time. Zhang Miao called again. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Almost there. Traffic is bad. I asked the driver to hurry. My voice sounded anxious. Inside, I felt no urgency at all. By the time I reached the building, another half-hour had passed. A notice was taped beside the entrance. Elevator out of service. Perfect. Then I saw something even better. A pink child's walker had been abandoned directly beside the busiest part of the lobby. I recognized it. In my previous life, Zhang Miao frequently left Tong Tong's walker and other belongings in the shared hallway, because carrying them upstairs was inconvenient. Neighbors complained. Zhang Miao fought with anyone who confronted her. Eventually, everyone gave up. I looked at the walker. A complete plan formed in my mind. Even fate was cooperating. My phone vibrated again. Han Lanchu, where are you? Are you trying to kill my daughter? I answered while walking faster. I'm here. I just entered the building. I'm coming up right I gave a perfectly timed scream. My foot struck the walker. I allowed momentum to throw me forward. To make the fall convincing, I did not protect myself. My knees and elbows slammed into the marble floor. The impact exploded through my body. My vision went black. For a second, I nearly lost consciousness. The phone flew from my hand. The screen cracked, but the call remained connected. Zhang Miao's voice came through the speaker. Han Longchu, what happened? What trick are you playing now? I reached for the phone with my uninjured hand. It's nothing. The elevator is broken. I'll climb the stairs. I meant it literally. I crawled. Blood seeped through my pant leg. Supporting myself on my elbows, I dragged my body toward the stairwell. At every step, I stopped to gasp for breath. A second-floor neighbor opened her door. Oh my God. Xiaohan, what happened? I'll call an ambulance. I shook my head weakly. Don't worry about me, Auntie Wang. A child from the 12th floor fell onto my awning. I have to open the door. The neighbors who had stepped into the hall stared. Their expressions changed from shock to admiration and sympathy. She's injured that badly and still trying to save the child. What a good woman. Someone go upstairs and see what is happening. The story was already turning in my favor. I continued climbing. 3rd floor, 4th, 5th. My heavy breathing echoed through the stairwell. So did the scrape of my bloody pant leg against concrete. My phone rang. I did not answer. I could imagine Zhang Miao's rage. The longer this lasted, the weaker Tong Tong became. In my previous life, I had held her for 40 minutes. How long could a 5-year-old child hang alone over open air? I did not know. I knew only that I was returning the torture exactly as it had been given to me. At last, with no strength remaining, I reached the 6th floor. Firefighters and neighbors crowded outside my apartment. The moment Zhang Miao saw me, she charged forward. She did not look at my ruined knee. She did not notice the blood or the dirt. She snatched the key from my hand. Why did you take so long? She fumbled at the lock. Her hands shook so badly that she missed the keyhole several times. The firefighters and neighbors finally saw my condition. What happened to her? Look at her leg. It might be broken. But the child came first. The firefighters followed Zhang Miao into the apartment and rushed toward the balcony. Another firefighter supported me. I limped behind them. Ropes, harnesses, and rescue equipment were already prepared. Several firefighters leaned through the window, positioning themselves above the awning. Tong Tong, hold on. Zhang Miao screamed. Mommy is here. The small figure below moved. Perhaps she heard her mother. Perhaps survival instinct drove her to climb. But she had been hanging too long. Her strength was gone. A firefighter's safety loop was almost around her when Tong Tong's hand opened. The little girl in pink dropped like a dead leaf. Time stopped. People screamed below. Silence filled the balcony. Then Zhang Miao released an inhuman howl. Tong Tong. She collapsed. The firefighters lowered their heads. The rescue had failed. And I, the kind neighbor who had supposedly done everything possible to return, could begin my performance. I stared in disbelief. My face showed horror. Then I let my body go limp and sank to the floor. How could this happen? How could this happen? Tears rolled down my cheeks. I was not crying for Tong Tong. I was crying for the woman I had been. The fool who had died beneath the same balcony. Zhang Miao suddenly lunged at me. Han Lan Chu, this is your fault. You killed my daughter. Why didn't you come sooner? Why didn't you answer? She tore at my clothing and struck me. I did not resist. Firefighters and neighbors pulled her away. Calm down. Miss Han did everything she could. Look at her. She injured herself trying to open the door for your daughter. I curled on the floor and covered my face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I cried harder. Then, as if by accident, I guided everyone toward the detail I wanted them to remember. It's my fault. I shouldn't have fallen. If I hadn't fallen, I could have arrived a few minutes sooner. If only someone hadn't left a child's walker in the middle of the lobby. That thing destroyed my knee. Otherwise, I would have run upstairs. I would have opened the door sooner. At the words child's walker, Zhang Miao froze. Pink walker. The color drained from her face. Her lips trembled. She could not speak. I looked at her terror and felt a rush of satisfaction. Zhang Miao, you had always been skilled at shifting responsibility. You always attacked first and accused louder. This time, where could you push the blame? Your negligence caused your daughter's fall. Your selfishness obstructed the rescue. You would carry that burden for the rest of your life. Tong Tong did not die. The emergency air cushion caught her. But even with the cushion, a fall from the 6th floor caused catastrophic injuries. The diagnosis was complete paralysis below the upper spine. At 5 years old, Tong Tong would spend the rest of her life unable to walk. Her father returned to the hospital and crouched against the wall like a broken animal. His hands were buried in his hair. He sobbed into his knees. Zhang Miao did not cry. Her eyes were bloodshot and empty. Hatred moved inside them like a snake. When she saw a nurse pushing me in a wheelchair, my right leg enclosed in a heavy cast, the hatred found its target. Han Lan Chu, she charged. Her husband caught her before her nails reached my face. It's you. You're bad luck. If you came sooner, my daughter wouldn't have fallen. If you climbed faster, she would not be paralyzed. Give me back my daughter. Again, she pushed responsibility toward me as if it belonged there. The same as before. Only this time, I was not alone. Before I could respond, Auntie Wang stepped forward. Zhang Miao, do you have a conscience? She pointed at my cast. Xiao Han broke her leg trying to reach her daughter. Who was she trying to save? Wasn't it your child? Patients and relatives turned to look. Whispers spread. Public sympathy no longer belonged to Zhang Miao. Her face shifted between red and white. I lowered my head. My shoulders shook. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have gone to the movie. I shouldn't have fallen. If I had been faster, just a little faster. My sobs became the final weight. Tong Tong's father stood and slapped Zhang Miao across the face. The sound cracked through the corridor. Enough. Have you not embarrassed us enough? She stared at him in shock. Inside I laughed. 1 week later, I was discharged. I did not go home. I asked my caregiver to take me to Tong Tong's rehabilitation hospital. Before leaving, I called Tong Tong's father, Wang Jian. I told him I wanted to visit the child. We were neighbors. I said, I could not stop thinking about her. Then I asked casually, is Mrs. Zhang all right? She seemed emotionally unstable. I'm afraid she might hurt herself. Wang Jian was silent. She's handling the transfer paperwork. She won't return until this afternoon. If you want to come, come now. That was the answer I wanted. Some words were best spoken when the two of us were alone. I appeared at the hospital in a wheelchair holding flowers. Surprise crossed Wang Jian's face, then gratitude and shame. Miss Han, your leg, it will heal. How is Tong Tong? The child lay motionless beneath a white blanket. Her face was yellow and lifeless. The energetic girl she had once been now resembled a doll emptied of its soul. Wang Jian's eyes reddened. I placed the flowers beside the bed. After watching Tong Tong for a moment, I turned to him. There is something I don't understand. I chose each word carefully, as if I were asking only from concern. How did Tong Tong fall from the 12th floor? She is so small. The window is high. She could not have climbed there easily. Was no one watching her? Each question opened the wound he was trying not to see. His face turned white. His eyes moved away. He could not answer. His reaction confirmed what I suspected. I continued in the same innocent, guilty voice. I keep blaming myself. When Mrs. Zhang called, my heart nearly stopped. I begged the taxi driver to hurry. Then the elevator was out. I thought only about reaching the apartment. But when I entered the lobby, I paused. I tripped over a pink child's walker. I watched his face. His pupils contracted. He knew the walker. He had purchased it as Tong Tong's birthday gift. Shang Miao left it in the lobby because she did not want to carry it upstairs. Neighbors had complained repeatedly. She shot them down and claimed her property fees allowed her to store whatever she wanted in the common area. I hate whoever left it there. I whispered. If not for that walker, I could have reached the apartment 5 minutes sooner. Maybe only 3. Tong Tong might not have. I covered my face and cried. Wang Jian did not comfort me. His body trembled. His teeth ground together. Rage, shame, and violence gathered in his eyes. He had understood. Why did Shang Miao fail to notice her daughter was missing for 10 minutes? What was she doing? Who left the walker that broke my leg and delayed the only viable rescue access? Both answers pointed to the same person. My work was finished. I wiped my tears and offered him a weak smile. Don't lose hope. Things will improve. I should go. I turned the wheelchair and left. A storm would soon destroy apartment 1201. All I had to do was wait at home. The storm arrived that night. At 2 o'clock in the morning, shouting erupted above me. Objects shattered. A woman screamed. A man roared like an animal. I switched off the television. The building was so quiet that I could hear everything. I could imagine the scene. Wang Jian had checked the home cameras. The evidence must have been undeniable. Shang Miao sat on the couch wearing headphones. She laughed into a phone while watching short videos. Behind her, Tong Tong climbed onto a stool and struggled toward the balcony window. Then Wang Jian saw his wife's lies. Furniture broke. There were blows, pleading, and screams. I poured red wine and watched the dark liquid move inside the glass. A cold smile touched my mouth. Zhang Miao, this was your punishment. In my previous life, you pushed me from the balcony. In this life, I would let the person closest to you push you into hell. The fighting continued for a long time. No neighbor called the police, not because they were heartless. Zhang Miao had spent years teaching them not to interfere. Once, Wang Jian struck her during an argument. A neighbor reported it. When police arrived, Zhang Miao accused the neighbor of destroying her marriage. She screamed at the officers that it was a private family matter, and demanded that they release her husband. After Wang Jian spent several days in detention, Zhang Miao stood outside the neighbor's door and cursed her for days. No one involved themselves again. Some people build their own isolation. Some people make compassion impossible. I finished the wine, turned up the music, and slept peacefully. The next morning, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Zhang Miao. She wore oversized sunglasses and a face mask. They could not hide the bruises along her forehead and cheeks. I waited before opening the door. Then I looked at her with concern. Mrs. Zhang, what happened to your face? She shoved past me and closed the door. When she removed the glasses, her face was swollen and purple. Hatred burned in her eyes. It was you, Han Longchu. You told my husband. I moved backward as if frightened. Told him what? I don't understand. I only visited Tong Tong. I felt guilty. Mr. Wang and I barely spoke. Barely spoke. She sneered. Then why did he check the cameras? How did he learn about the walker? My heartbeat skipped. My face remained confused. The walker? I frowned as if remembering. Oh, the one that caused my fall? I told him I hated the person who left it there. If not for that person, I wouldn't have broken my leg and Tong Tong might have been rescued. Did they find out who left it? My hopeful expression enraged her. A furious, guilty person often loses control. Find out? I left it there. Yes. I left it. It's my building. I can put it wherever I want. What business is it of yours? Are you satisfied? You caused my husband to beat me. Are you happy now? The moment the words left her mouth, she realized what she had admitted. Her face went white. I gave her the perfect expression of disbelief. It was you? My voice shook with pain. How could it be you? I thought you hated the person who left it there as much as I did. But the person who hurt me and delayed Tong Tong's rescue was you? The words pierced whatever remained of her defense. Her negligence caused Tong Tong to fall. Her selfish use of the common hallway delayed the rescue. She was the source of everything. The realization broke her. Then her nature returned. People who cannot face their own guilt search for someone else to carry it. So what if I left the walker? This is still your fault. You ignored the phone. You moved slowly on purpose. If you had returned earlier, none of this would have happened. You must take responsibility. There it was. Money. You will pay for Tong Tong's medical care, nursing, and emotional damages. 5 million yuan. Not 1 yuan less. In my first life, she demanded 200,000. Now that her daughter was paralyzed, her appetite had grown to 5 million. I did not argue. I took my phone from my pocket. I had started recording the moment she entered. Mrs. Zhang, that is extortion. I have recorded your admission and your demand. You may leave now or I will call the police. She saw the recording screen, then she lunged. You dare call the police? I'll tear your mouth apart. I turned the wheelchair and moved back. When she failed to reach the phone, she began destroying my home. Vases, decorations, cups, everything shattered against the floor. You owe my daughter. You murderer. You deserve to die. I watched her and called emergency services. I need police at Xingfuli Residential Complex, Building 6, Apartment 602. A woman has entered my home without permission, threatened me, and is destroying property. Yes, she is highly agitated and dangerous. The officers arrived quickly. I gave them the complete recording. I showed them the destroyed apartment, the cast on my leg, and the fresh injuries on Zhang Miao's face. She claimed we had only argued. She said I provoked her, but the audio captured her admission that she had left the walker in the public lobby. It captured the 5 million yuan demand. Neighbors testified that she had occupied common areas and harassed residents for years. She was detained for 15 days for disorderly conduct, intentional destruction of property, and creating a public safety obstruction in a shared emergency passage. As police placed her in handcuffs, she stared at me as if she wanted to tear the flesh from my bones. I knew it was not finished. When she was released, she would come for me again. This time, I would not be available. The 15 days passed quickly. On the day Xiang Miao left detention, I happened to be away again. I had taken a holiday at a hot spring resort in a neighboring city. Warm water surrounded me while I read messages in the property management group. The crazy woman from 1201 is back. She spent the entire afternoon pounding on the 6th floor door. She kept screaming Miss Han's name. That woman is a disaster. Miss Han has terrible luck. Good thing she isn't home. I turned off the phone and closed my eyes. I wanted to enjoy the final quiet before the storm. I understood Wang Jian. I understood his grief and hatred. If he saw that Xiang Miao still felt no remorse and had again humiliated him before the whole building, the last thread of his restraint would break. A man who believed his wife had destroyed their daughter, and their home could become capable of anything. Late that night, the police called. An officer told me there had been a death at Xingfuli. As a person connected to the conflict, I needed to return for questioning. I traveled back overnight. Police vehicles crowded the courtyard. Red and blue lights washed the buildings. A long line of crime scene tape blocked Building 6. Neighbors told the story in fragments. Xiang Miao had spent the afternoon attacking my door. She failed to break in. Wang Jian returned that evening. They began fighting in the hallway. He told her he wanted a divorce. He also said he could not care for their paralyzed daughter, and intended to surrender custody to state care. Xiang Miao had no income. She refused. They screamed. They shoved each other. During the struggle, Wang Jian pushed her through a 6th-floor window. She died exactly as I had died in my first life. I was safe, completely safe. The woman who had followed me through 2 lives like a nightmare had written the final line of her own life with stupidity and cruelty. Wang Jian was later convicted for causing her death. Tong Tong entered long-term state care, where social service agencies assumed responsibility for her treatment and daily life. Our building slowly became quiet again. Some neighbors whispered that apartment 602 and 1201 had terrible energy. I ignored them. Winter returned. The first snow of the year drifted outside. I stood beside the balcony window and looked at the white world. In my previous life, they had pushed me from this place. In this life, I stood here and watched every enemy destroy themselves. I breathed onto the cold glass. Mist appeared. With one finger, I wrote a sentence. Mercy cannot save those determined to destroy themselves. The mist faded. The words disappeared. So did the people and events that had controlled my life. Snow continued falling outside. A clean new morning was waiting for me.